Hey folks, on this video, I'm going to be talking about what is a performance bond in the development construction world. Now, I have some experience in this. I kind of spent 12 years in the construction industry. A big part of it was being the project manager, taking a project from cradle to grave, which means getting a design engineer, architect on board, coming up with the design and drawings, taking that design and drawings and hiring a construction management firm to go and build it, taking it out to bid, and then seeing it to completion. Now, where the performance bond comes in is this is after you've had plans and specs, which comes from your architect engineer, and then you take the plans and specs, you take it out to bid, right? So that means you're taking these drawings and specs, and whether that's like a physical building or a mound. I spent a lot of time with railroad tracks, asphalt projects, city projects, sewer, that type of stuff. So a wide range of things. And different sectors within the government and private, I'm going to kind of be getting into the nuances there too. You're taking this project, this set of plans, and you're taking out to bid. And when you're going out to bid, the contractors, I will sign up to build it at this price based on your terms. We're not going to really get into this too much in this video. You can set it out when you can build it on a lot of unit costs or all in one price. If they would do all in one price, it's a little more expensive when you do it. It's hard to keep them accountable, but I digress. They have to build the project essentially because it's a contract. But what happens if this contractor just goes AWOL on, which happens? Doesn't really happen with the bigger contractors. If you're working with a contractor with, let's just call it like $1 to $50 million of annual project, these guys are small potato kind of guys. So when you're going like millions of dollars of construction scope a year, these guys are a lot more, just call it like a financially capable. Like why you guys like to invest with folks, operators who have a high net worth, because unlike working with somebody that just has maybe $1 to $4 million in net worth, if that one project out of their dozen fails, they're screwed because they don't have the personal capital to cover it. The same thing in terms of the construction world, and there's always an ownership group of the contractors. When I was in the private industry, as private in terms of owners, I was the owner's rep, project manager. I would go out to bid and then get a contractor. It doesn't matter how their ownership structure is. If that contractor goes underwater or goes AWOL, how am I guaranteed to have them pay for my damages or recollect on anything that I didn't pay out? And in that case, you would sue them, right? And that's what private companies. A lot of my time was also spent working for the government. And this is why one of the many reasons why I'm not a huge fan of the government. Because the government, in this case, if somebody just goes AWOL, the government doesn't really sue people. One of the reasons why is because the legal costs, they're like just lay down. It's kind of like somebody stealing your wallet. I'm wearing my nice clothes today. I don't really want to get into a fist fight and get myself hurt, or get myself killed. The same thing, which I think is a little lame. But hey, what do I know? I was just a lowly project engineer. I'm sure there's reasons why the government doesn't go and sue people to collect damages. And from one respect, from a point of time, it makes sense. Why get the government or the state government or city government or county government enthralled in this kind of legal battle with the small-time operator? It might be for millions of dollars, but it is petty to do that over time. Instead, because the government knows that's their policy, what they will do on some of their contracts is they will require a performance bond. That's what we're talking about today. So this performance bond, it ensures that the project will get built should the contractor go AWOL on us. So in a way, we've seen it now, it's like insurance. And insurance sounds good, like we're trying to be conservative. If the contractor goes AWOL or also doesn't perform the performance bond kicks in. And now we have a lot of money to go get the project completed. And that ultimately de-risks us, the owner. So if we're in a project where the bank requires a performance bond, first off, we're a private entity, which to me there's no point, right? That's why we sue them. That's our recourse, right? But sometimes the bank may require us to be extra conservative because the bank is the bank. The bank is always want to be conservative. Unfortunately, the bank kind of has the biggest interests, and they do call the shots a lot of times, and they do push things to be more conservative. So if they were to require performance bond, essentially we have to burden that extra cost that we have the contractor, the performance bond on themselves, but essentially the cost that those costs pass through to us and we're paying the bill essentially. So this is a practice that the government does, right? So they'll pay these performance bonds. That's why these government projects cost more, amongst many other things. I don't want to make it seem like it's just a performance bond. What's the cost of these performance bonds? It ranges, just to give you guys some order of magnitude, because that's how a person I am. I just want to say it's a lot or it's not that much. For maybe $50 million scope, which sounds like a lot of money, but in our world is a modest sum for a project, construction build, or even a apartment complex. That might cost on the scale of $100,000 of costs, plus or minus 50, 100%. Don't quote me on that number. It doesn't seem like too much money, right? If the contractor kind of leaves you high and dry, obviously we're paying out the contractor for work done. And this is our kind of role as the asset manager, is they're submitting pay claims, and we're going out inspecting the work and only paying on that. And of course, we have to lead them sometimes because they have to make big material purchases. This is why it drives me crazy about home flippers or amateur house flippers. Like, they give them like an arbitrary half of the money, and then, or worse, they give them all the money and the contractor just runs off with it. And that's what happens in like low-level contractors and these kind of small rinky-dink, like unprofessionally trained people who do this type of stuff. This is the kind of mistakes that happen. But we're feeding the contractor what they're worked for and material, big purchase amounts. So really, there's not really too much hanging out there in terms of that intermediate extra risk should they leave at any point. But by having this performance bond, that ensures that if they were to leave us high and dry and really leave us in a bad spot. Another way to think about it too is some people, they might think that key man insurance is important, acts on the same respect in a way, as one of those penalty flag in football, right? If that unfortunate low risk event happens, you get bailed out in a way. But there's always a cost. You don't want to be over insuring yourself over than you need to. People are on different sides of the fence with this. You want to do performance bond, but generally from an industry perspective, it just doesn't make any sense. It's redundant. But if you have to get it because the bank says that's just how it is what it is. Like, you move forward, there's all these kind of things that pop up. It's a small of the budget, like on a $50 million budget, what's a couple $100,000, right? Sounds like obviously a lot of money on a per project basis, but that's really not that much money. Some people might like it. They might like the idea of that one thing that happened, then we essentially get a windfall in a way. But anyway, that's what a performance bond is, a long-winded type of way. I personally think it's silly to have a performance bond, because if that low chance of something happening, we go and sue and we collect damages. It's a pretty straightforward case, but that's just my opinion on the whole thing. But anyway, a lot of this is in the rest of the syndication eCourse in the heavy development section. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.